The shuttle's engines hummed as it approached the massive space station. Doyen pressed his hand against the window, watching the Galactic Defense Academy grow larger with each passing second. The station looked like a small moon, covered with lights and docking ports. Ships from dozens of alien worlds floated around it like insects around a lamp. Doyen took a deep breath. He was the first human from Earth to attend this academy. The thought made his stomach tight with nervousness. In his lap sat a long cloth bundle. Inside was his family's katana, a sword that had belonged to his grandfather and his grandfather's grandfather before that. The blade was 400 years old. The shuttle pilot, a friendly alien with blue skin and 4 arms, turned back to look at him. "First time at the academy?" the pilot asked. "Yes," Doyen said quietly. "Don't worry too much. They act tough, but most cadets are decent enough." The pilot paused. "Though some species can be proud. Just keep your head down and work hard." Doyen nodded. He understood. Humans were new to the galaxy. Many aliens still saw Earth as a primitive planet that had only recently discovered space travel. Some didn't think humans belonged at the academy at all. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. Doyen gathered his bag and the wrapped sword. He walked through the airlock and into the station. The corridor was huge, built to fit aliens of all sizes. Some cadets walking past were as small as children. Others were giants, nearly 3 meters tall. Security waited at the entrance checkpoint. The scanner beeped loudly when Doyen walked through with his sword. 2 guards immediately pointed their weapons at him. One was reptilian with green scales. The other looked like walking stone. "Weapon detected," the reptilian guard hissed. "State your purpose." Doyen slowly placed his bag down and held up the wrapped sword. "It's a training tool. A traditional blade from Earth. I have permission to carry it." The stone guard took the bundle and unwrapped it carefully. The katana caught the light, its polished surface gleaming. Both guards stared at it. "This is your weapon?" the reptilian guard asked. "No energy core? No plasma edge?" "No," Doyen said. "Just steel." The guards looked at each other. The stone one laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Good luck with that, human." "You'll need it." They let him pass. Doyen rewrapped the sword and continued into the academy. Other cadets stared at him as he walked. He could hear whispers following him down the halls. He kept his eyes forward and his back straight. The orientation meeting was held in a large hall. Hundreds of cadets sat in rows, speaking in dozens of languages. Doyen found a seat near the back. A human woman was already sitting there. She smiled when she saw him. "You must be Doyen," she said in Korean. "I'm Jiwon, medical officer. I've been here for 6 months." "Nice to meet you," Doyen replied, relieved to hear his own language. "I heard you brought a katana," Jiwon said softly. "That was brave. Or maybe foolish. Some aliens here don't respect old ways. My grandfather told me to bring it. He said the blade carries our family's honor." Jiwon nodded. "Just be careful. The academy has politics. There are cadets here from species that have been spacefaring for thousands of years. They don't like newcomers showing up with ancient weapons." After orientation, cadets were directed to the armory to register their equipment. Doyen followed the crowd to a massive room filled with weapons of every kind. Energy rifles hung on walls. Plasma swords floated in containment fields. Combat drones hovered near the ceiling. Advanced cadets were already there, showing off their gear. In the center of the room stood a tall alien, over 2 meters high, covered in dark red scales. He held a staff that crackled with purple energy. Other cadets formed a circle around him, watching as he demonstrated. The alien spun the staff in complex patterns. The energy trail left purple lines in the air. He struck a training dummy, and the dummy exploded into pieces. The watching cadets cheered. "That's Thexlar," someone whispered near Doyen. "Best combat student in the academy. His species are called Vraxians. They're natural warriors," Thexlar noticed Doyen watching. His eyes, yellow with slit pupils, focused on the wrapped bundle in Doyen's hands. "You there," he called out. "New cadet. What's in the cloth?" The room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at Doyen. He walked forward slowly and unwrapped his katana. The blade seemed dull and simple compared to the glowing weapons around the room. Thexlar leaned down to examine it. "What is this? Some kind of antique?" "A katana," Doyen said. "A sword from Earth." "A sword?" Thexlar straightened up. "Made of plain metal? No energy field? No molecular edge?" He started to laugh. It was a harsh sound that echoed through the armory. Other cadets joined in the laughter. A massive creature that looked like a walking boulder spoke up. Does the human even understand energy shielding? That toy will break against modern armor. Perhaps Earth hasn't invented real weapons yet, another cadet said. Thexelar twirled his plasma staff. Tell me, human, how do you expect to fight with something so primitive? This is a military academy, not a museum. Doyen felt heat rise in his chest. His hand tightened on the katana's handle. But he remembered his grandfather's words. A warrior who acts in anger has already lost. He took a slow breath and met Thexelar's eyes calmly. This blade has served my family for 400 years, Doyen said quietly. It will serve me here, Thexelar snorted. 400 years of cutting what? Fruit rope. He turned to the other cadets. Perhaps we should petition the academy to open a gardening program for the human. More laughter filled the room. Doyen stood silently, his face showing nothing. He wrapped his katana back in its cloth and turned to leave. As he walked away, he noticed one cadet who wasn't laughing. She had pale skin that seemed to shimmer with light. Her eyes followed him with curiosity rather than mockery. Their eyes met for a moment before Doyen looked away. Outside the armory, Doyen found a quiet corner. He sat down and carefully unwrapped his katana again. He ran his fingers along the flat of the blade. In the metal's reflection, he could almost see his grandfather's face. Patience, grandfather, Doyen whispered to the blade. I will honor our family. I will show them what this sword can do. That night, Doyen lay in his small quarters staring at the ceiling. The space station's lights created strange shadows on the walls. His katana rested beside his bed within arm's reach. Tomorrow, training would begin. Tomorrow he would start proving himself, but tonight he allowed himself to feel the weight of what he carried. Not just a sword, but the expectations of an entire planet. Earth was watching. His family was watching. And somewhere in the galaxy, his little sister Minji was probably looking up at the stars, wondering if he was safe. Doyen closed his eyes. In his mind, he practiced the movements his grandfather had taught him. Each cut, each stance, each breath, the forms had been refined over centuries. They had survived because they worked. Let them laugh, he thought. Let them mock the old ways. When the time came, he would show them that some things don't need to change to remain effective. Some things are perfect precisely because they are simple. His last thought before sleep was of Thexelar's plasma staff, crackling with energy, and his katana silent and still. Fire was impressive, but steel endured. 3 weeks into training, Admiral Zephon called all cadets to the grand arena. The arena was enormous, big enough to hold 5,000 spectators. The floor could change to simulate any battlefield, from frozen tundra to burning desert. Today it was set to neutral, just a simple gray circle 50 meters wide. Admiral Zephon stood at the center, an ancient Cartesian who had lived for over 300 years. His skin was like weathered leather, and his eyes held the wisdom of countless battles. When he spoke, everyone listened. The midterm sparring tournament begins next week, the Admiral announced. His voice echoed through the arena. This tournament determines your class rankings. It tests not just your strength, but your skill, your strategy, and your heart. Excited whispers spread through the assembled cadets. The tournament was one of the Academy's most important events. Winners gained respect and better training opportunities. Losers often struggled for the rest of their time at the Academy. Matchups will be determined by our combat algorithm, the Admiral continued. It analyzes your performance in training and pairs you with opponents of equal skill. Some matches will surprise you. Trust the system. Trust your training. That evening, Doyen sat in the common area with Jiwan. Around them, cadets talked excitedly about the tournament. Many were confident. Others were nervous. Do you think you'll be matched with someone strong? Jiwan asked. Doyen shrugged. The algorithm will decide. I just need to be ready for whoever I face. Have you been practicing? Jiwan smiled. Of course you have. You practice every night. Sometimes I hear you in the training rooms when I finish my shift at the medical bay. Old habits, Doyen said. My grandfather always said that 1 day of missed practice takes 3 days to recover. Across the room, Thexelar sat with a group of senior cadets. He was telling stories about his previous victories, his voice loud and confident. Breck, the massive stone-like alien, sat nearby, laughing at Thexelar's jokes. The next morning, the matchup announcements appeared on every screen in the academy. Cadets crowded around displays searching for their names. Doyen found his match listed near the bottom. His opponent was a Krillian, an insect-like species known for their speed and multiple limbs. Could be worse, Jiwan said, reading over his shoulder. At least you didn't get matched with Thexlar. But then they heard shouting from across the hall. Cadets were gathering around a central display, pointing and talking rapidly. Doyen and Jiwan pushed through the crowd to see what was happening. On the screen was a special announcement. Below the standard matches was a challenge match. Thexlar had formally requested to fight Doyen instead of his assigned opponent. The request was pending approval. He challenged you? Jiwan's eyes went wide. Why would he do that? Doyen understood immediately. Thexlar wanted to humiliate him publicly. It wasn't enough to mock the human sword. The Vraxian wanted to prove in front of everyone that human methods were worthless. Word spread quickly. By lunch, everyone was talking about the challenge. Most cadets thought it was foolish. Thexlar was the top-ranked student. Doyen was barely in the middle of the class. The match would be a massacre. That afternoon, Doyen received a summons to the Admiral's office. The old Cortesian sat behind a simple desk studying a datapad. He gestured for Doyen to sit. The combat algorithm approved Thexlar's challenge, the Admiral said. Do you know what that means? That I'm being given a chance to prove myself, Doyen said carefully. Or that you're being fed to the wolves, the Admiral replied. The algorithm sees something in you, Cadet Doyen. Something in your training performance that suggests you might be more capable than you appear. But algorithms don't feel pain. You will, the Admiral leaned forward. You can refuse this match. No one would blame you. Thexlar is exceptional even for a Vraxian. He has defeated cadets with years more experience than you. Doyen thought about his grandfather, about the blade waiting in his quarters, about Minji back on Earth believing in him, about every human who would watch this match and judge whether Earth belonged in the galaxy. I accept the match, Admiral, Doyen said. I only ask for standard sparring rules. No technological enhancements beyond personal weapons. The Admiral studied him for a long moment. You have courage. Let's see if you have skill to match. He typed something on his pad. The match is approved. It will be the final bout of the tournament, 3 days from now. Prepare yourself. News of the approved match spread even faster than the challenge itself. By evening, betting pools had started. The odds were absurd. 50-1 against Doyen. Some pools offered 100-1. No one believed the human had a chance. Jiwan found Doyen in the medical bay getting a routine physical exam. You actually accepted, she said. Are you insane? Maybe, Doyen admitted. But I didn't come here to be safe. I came here to represent Earth. Thexlar is going to hurt you, Jiwan said quietly. His last sparring match put his opponent in medical care for a week. He doesn't know how to hold back. Then I'll have to make sure he doesn't get the chance, Doyen said. That night, Kira came to the training room where Doyen was practicing. She watched silently for a while before speaking. I heard about the match, she said. Most cadets think you're brave or stupid. I'm not sure which. What do you think? Doyen asked, pausing his practice. I think you're hiding something, Kira said. The way you move, the way you watch. You're learning, studying. Every time Thexlar shows off, you're there watching. You're not afraid of him. You're studying him. Doyen didn't deny it. It was true. For weeks, he had watched Thexlar train. He had memorized the Vraxian's patterns, his preferred attacks, his weaknesses. Everyone saw Thexlar's power. Doyen saw his predictability. Vraxians are naturally aggressive, Kira continued. They believe in overwhelming force. Thexlar will try to end the fight quickly. He'll come at you with everything. I know, Doyen said. Thank you. Kira smiled slightly. Good luck, human. I hope your ancient blade is as sharp as you think it is. The next 2 days passed in a blur. Doyen continued his training, ignoring the stares and whispers. He practiced his forms until they were perfect. He meditated, clearing his mind of doubt and fear. He slept with his katana beside him, feeling the weight of history in the blade. Commander Hyunwoo sent a message from Earth. Remember, speed is not about how fast you move. It's about moving at exactly the right moment. Let him be fast. You be precise. Minji's message was simpler. I believe in you, brother. Show them what Earth can do. On the morning of the tournament, Doyen woke early. He sat in meditation, breathing slowly, centering himself. He could hear his grandfather's voice in his mind. The fight begins before you draw your blade. It begins with your mind, your heart, your spirit. Be calm, be ready, be water. He performed his morning form slowly, each movement deliberate. When he finished, he cleaned his katana with careful attention. The blade gleamed in the artificial light. 400 years of history, 400 years of warriors who had faced impossible odds. "I won't let you down," Doyen whispered to the blade, to his grandfather, to every human watching from Earth. The arena would be full. Thousands would watch. Millions more across the galaxy would see the recordings. They expected to see a human defeated. They expected to laugh at the primitive sword. But Doyen had a different plan. He would show them something they had never seen before. He would show them that some things don't need to be new to be effective. That patience and precision can defeat raw power. That 400 years of refinement creates perfection. As he walked toward the arena, his katana wrapped in cloth under his arm, Doyen felt no fear, only calm, only certainty. The moment had finally arrived. In 3 moves, everything would change. The first week of training was harder than Doyen had imagined. Every morning began at dawn with physical exercises. The Academy's training ground could simulate different gravity levels and atmospheres. One day they trained in crushing gravity that made every step feel like climbing a mountain. The next day they fought in thin air that left them gasping. Doyen struggled. His human body wasn't built for these extremes. Some aliens barely noticed the changes. The Vraxians like Thexlar seemed to thrive in any condition. The walking boulder creature, whose name was Breck, could stand in gravity that would crush a human flat. But Doyen was good at other things. In tactical planning classes, he scored highest in his group. His instructors praised his ability to see patterns and predict outcomes. When they studied military history, Doyen could explain strategies from Earth's past that impressed even the oldest teachers. "The human has a sharp mind," one instructor told the class. "Intelligence and strength are both weapons." Still, combat training was different. Every species at the Academy had natural advantages. The Vraxians were stronger and faster. The Lumineth, like the pale-skinned cadet who had watched Doyen in the armory, could move objects with their minds. Even Breck's people could shrug off hits that would kill most others. Humans had no special powers. Doyen had only his training and his blade. One afternoon, Thexlar organized a demonstration in the main training hall. He wanted to show the new cadets how real combat worked. Doyen stood with the crowd, watching as Thexlar stepped into the practice ring. 5 senior cadets surrounded him, each with energy shields and shock batons. The instructor counted down. 3, 2, 1, begin. The 5 cadets rushed at Thexlar together. He moved like liquid lightning. His plasma staff spun in a blur. Within seconds, 3 cadets were down, their shields overloaded. The 4th swung at Thexlar's head. The Vraxian ducked, swept the cadet's legs, and knocked him out with a precise strike. The last cadet tried to run. Thexlar threw his staff. It flew through the air, spinning, and struck the fleeing cadet between the shoulders. The cadet fell. The whole fight had lasted less than 15 seconds. The watching cadets erupted in cheers. Thexlar retrieved his staff and turned to face the crowd. His yellow eyes found Doyen in the group. "This is modern combat," Thexlar announced. "Speed, power, and superior weapons, not ancient metal and outdated techniques." He pointed his staff at Doyen. "How long would your primitive sword last against 5 opponents? How many would you defeat before they broke your blade?" Cadets turned to look at Doyen. He felt their stares like physical weight. He wanted to speak, to defend his sword and his training, but he remained silent. His grandfather had taught him that words were cheap. Actions proved worth. That evening, someone posted a video to the Academy's network. It showed Doyen training alone in one of the practice rooms. He moved through his kata, the traditional forms his grandfather had taught him. Each movement was precise and controlled, but whoever posted the video had edited it. They slowed down Doyen's movements and added dramatic music. They showed clips of him next to videos of Thexlar's lightning-fast combat. The comparison made Doyen look slow and clumsy. The title read, "Ancient Earth Warrior Prepares for Battle." The video spread through the Academy within hours. Everywhere Doyen went, cadets whispered and pointed. Some laughed openly. Others just shook their heads in pity. Jiwan found him in the cafeteria that night. "I saw the video," she said, sitting across from him. "I'm sorry. They're cruel." "It doesn't matter," Doyen said, though his jaw was tight. "It does matter. You're representing Earth here. If they make you look weak, they make all humans look weak." Jiwan leaned forward. "Maybe you should train with modern weapons, too." "Show them you can adapt," Doyen shook his head. My grandfather sent me here with this blade for a reason. He said that when everyone else relies on technology, they forget the basics. They forget discipline, timing, and patience. That's beautiful philosophy, Jiwan said gently. But philosophy doesn't win fights. Later that night, Doyen received a message from Earth. It was from his sister, Minji. Her face appeared on his small screen, smiling but worried. "Hey, big brother," she said. "I saw the video. Don't listen to them. I know you're going to make us proud. Remember what grandfather used to say? The bamboo that bends in the wind doesn't break. Be patient. Your moment will come." Doyen watched the message 3 times. Each time he felt a little stronger. Minji was right. He needed patience. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Doyen was practicing in an empty training room when the door opened. The pale-skinned Lumineth cadet entered. Up close, Doyen could see her skin actually glowed faintly like moonlight. "I'm Kira," she said. Her voice was soft like wind through leaves. "May I watch?" Doyen hesitated, then nodded. He continued his practice, trying to ignore her presence. But he felt her eyes following each movement. When he finished, Kira approached. "Your movements are strange to me," she said. "But there's a pattern, a logic. Why do you repeat the same forms?" "To perfect them," Doyen explained. "Each form teaches something. This one is about balance. This one is about distance. This one is about reading your opponent's intention." "Reading intention?" Kira tilted her head. "My people use our abilities to sense thoughts. How do humans do this?" "We watch," Doyen said. "The way someone stands tells you how they'll move. The way they breathe tells you when they'll strike. The eyes reveal everything." Kira considered this. "Interesting. Most species here rely on technology or natural abilities. You rely on observation and practice. Because humans have nothing else," Doyen said honestly. "We're not the strongest or the fastest. We don't have special powers. So we train, we learn, we adapt." "Perhaps that makes you more dangerous than you appear," Kira said. She bowed slightly, a gesture of respect in her culture. "Thank you for letting me watch." Then she left. Doyen stood alone in the training room thinking about her words. More dangerous than he appeared. Maybe that was true. Maybe that was exactly what his grandfather had wanted. The next morning, Commander Hyunwoo visited the academy. He was Earth's military liaison, a former Special Forces officer who had fought in Earth's last war. He met Doyun in a private room. "I've been hearing reports," Hyunwoo said. He was a solid man with gray hair and kind eyes. "They're giving you trouble." "Nothing I can't handle, sir," Doyun replied. "I know you can handle it. But I want you to understand something." Hyunwoo sat forward. "When I was your age, I also trained with traditional weapons. Not because they were the best weapons, because they taught me discipline. They taught me to respect the fight." "Did people mock you too?" Doyen asked. "Oh yes," Hyunwoo smiled. "Until I used those lessons to defeat people with much better equipment. Then they stopped laughing and started asking questions." "How long did you have to wait?" Doyen asked. "For the right moment?" Hyunwoo stood up. "That's the trick. You don't wait for the moment. You prepare for it. And when it comes, you'll know. Trust your training, Doyen, and trust yourself." After Hyunwoo left, Doyen returned to his training with new determination. Let them post videos. Let them laugh. He would continue his practice. He would perfect his forms. And when the right moment came, he would be ready. Every night before sleep, he held his katana and repeated his grandfather's words like a prayer. "The blade does not seek the fight. The blade waits. When the moment arrives, the blade moves. And when the blade moves, the fight ends." Somewhere in the academy, Thexlar was probably practicing with his plasma staff, proud and confident. Somewhere, Kira was meditating, curious about the strange human and his ancient weapon. Somewhere, hundreds of cadets were preparing to prove themselves the best. And in his small room, Doyen sat in silence, breathing slowly, his hand on 400 years of history and honor. His moment would come. He just had to be patient. The grand arena was packed. Every seat was filled. Cadets from all classes had come to watch. Instructors stood along the walls. Even Admiral Zephon sat in his special box, watching with ancient eyes. Across the galaxy, millions tuned in to watch the live broadcast. They came to see the human fail. They came to see the primitive sword proven worthless. They came to see Thexlar, the Academy's champion, crush Earth's representative. Doyen walked into the arena through the south entrance. He wore simple white training clothes, a traditional hakama and gi from Earth. His feet were bare on the cool floor. His katana rested in his hand, still wrapped in cloth. The crowd noise hit him like a physical force. Some cheered. Most were silent, waiting. A few laughed. Thexler entered from the north. He wore his full combat armor, dark red plates that matched his scales. His plasma staff crackled with purple energy. The crowd erupted in cheers. Thexler raised his staff high, accepting their adoration. His yellow eyes found Doyen across the arena and narrowed with confident disdain. The referee, a neutral species with gray skin and no visible emotion, stood at the center. "Combatants, approach," she called. Doyen walked forward. Thexlar strode confidently. They met at the center of the circle. Up close, Thexlar towered over Doyen by a full head. "This is your last chance to withdraw," the referee said. "Once the match begins, it continues until one fighter yields or is unable to continue." "I'm ready," Doyen said quietly. Thexlar laughed. "This will be educational. The galaxy will learn what happens when ancient methods meet modern power. Show your weapons for inspection," the referee ordered. Thexlar spun his plasma staff. Energy crackled along its length. The crowd murmured in appreciation. Doyen unwrapped his katana slowly. The cloth fell away, revealing the blade. It looked small and plain compared to Thexlar's weapon. No energy field, no glow. Just polished steel that reflected the arena lights. Someone in the crowd laughed. Others joined in. Doyen didn't react. He held the sheathed blade at his side, his hand resting naturally on the handle. His breathing was slow and even. His grandfather had taught him that anger was the enemy of precision. Let them laugh. Laughter didn't win fights. The referee stepped back. Combat rules are standard. First to yield or be rendered unable to continue loses. Severe injury prohibited. Energy barriers will protect spectators. Are both fighters ready? "Ready," Thexlar said, his voice eager. Doyen bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. "Ready? Then begin." Thexlar exploded into motion. He was incredibly fast, covering half the distance in a single leap. His plasma staff spun in a complex pattern, the energy trail creating purple circles in the air. He struck at Doyen's chest with tremendous force. The crowd gasped. It seemed impossible for Doyen to avoid the attack. But he was already moving. Not backward as most fighters would. Sideways and only slightly. The smallest possible movement. The plasma staff passed so close to Doyen's chest that it singed his white GI. But Doyen was untouched. His hand moved to his katana's handle. His thumb pushed slightly, releasing the blade a few centimeters from its sheath. The movement created a soft sound, metal against wood. Small but distinct. Thexlar heard it. His ears twitched. For a fraction of a second, his next attack hesitated. His body tensed, expecting Doyen to draw and strike. In that tiny moment of uncertainty, his form broke. His weight shifted wrong. His guard opened, but Doyen didn't strike. He simply pushed the blade back into its sheath with a soft click. His stance reset to neutral as if nothing had happened. The crowd murmured in confusion. Why hadn't the human attacked? He had an opening. Some spectators thought Doyen was too slow to capitalize. Others thought he was afraid. But a few, like Admiral Zephon, leaned forward with interest. They understood. Doyen had just taken control of the fight. Thexlar growled in frustration. He recovered quickly, spinning his staff in an aggressive pattern. He attacked again, this time with a combination. 3 strikes in rapid succession, each from a different angle. High, low, middle. Each strike had enough force to break bones. Doyen moved like water. Each attack passed through empty space where he had been a moment before. His movements were minimal, efficient. No wasted energy, no panic, just pure technique. On the 3rd strike, Doyen's hand moved to his blade again. This time he drew it slightly further. Sunlight caught the exposed steel, creating a bright flash. The light struck Thexlar's eyes at the exact moment he was committing to his attack. The Vraxian flinched. His attack pulled back instinctively, defensive instead of aggressive. His staff came up to guard against an attack that never came, because Doyen didn't strike. Instead, he stepped forward into the space Thexlar had just abandoned. His blade slid back into its sheath. His stance shifted subtly, his body angled to one side. The crowd was silent now. They didn't understand what they were seeing. Thexlar was attacking. Doyen was only defending, but somehow Thexlar looked frustrated, uncertain. His movements, usually so confident, now had a hint of hesitation. Kira, sitting in the front row, smiled slightly. She understood. Doyen was reading Texlar. Every attack taught him more. Every feint revealed patterns. He was solving Texlar like a puzzle. Texlar snarled. His pride was wounded. This human, this weak creature with his primitive weapon was making him look foolish. He had landed no hits. Worse, he couldn't predict what Doyen would do. Every time he thought he understood, Doyen did something different. Stop running, Texlar shouted. Fight me! Doyen said nothing. His eyes never left Texlar, watching, waiting, measuring. Texlar's frustration boiled over into rage. He made his decision. He would end this now. No more games. He would put everything into one overwhelming attack that the human couldn't possibly avoid. He raised his plasma staff high above his head with both hands. Energy crackled louder, the purple light intensifying. His muscles tensed. His weight shifted back, preparing to drive forward with all his strength. Doyen saw it all. The commitment, the anger, the predictability. This was the moment. Texlar launched forward with a roar. His staff descended like a falling star, aimed directly at Doyen's head. The attack was powerful enough to crack stone, fast enough that most fighters couldn't react in time. But Doyen was already moving. His right foot slid forward. His body turned. His hand gripped the katana's handle, and in one fluid motion faster than thought, the blade left its sheath. The draw was perfect. 400 years of refinement. Generations of masters perfecting the technique. The blade sang as it cut through the air, a pure note that filled the silent arena. The katana met the descending plasma staff at the perfect angle, not opposing the force but redirecting it. The staff's energy crackled and spat as the blade's edge touched it, then slid the weapon harmlessly to the side. Texlar's attack, so powerful and committed, found only empty air. His momentum carried him forward off balance, defenseless. Doyen's blade continued its arc. It moved with the same motion that had deflected the staff, no pause, no hesitation. The katana came to rest against Texlar's neck. The edge touched the scales gently, precisely, exactly where the major blood vessels would be. Texlar froze. His plasma staff fell from nerveless fingers, clattering on the arena floor. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. The entire sequence from Texlar's final attack to Doyen's blade at his throat had taken less than 2 seconds. The arena was absolutely silent. 5,000 spectators held their breath. Across the galaxy, millions of viewers stared at their screens in disbelief. Doyen held the position for 1 heartbeat, 2, 3, making sure everyone understood what they were seeing. Then, in a motion as smooth as the draw, he pulled the blade back and returned it to its sheath. The katana clicked softly into place. Doyen stepped back and bowed formally to Texlar. A gesture of respect between warriors. The referee's voice broke the silence. Match concluded. Winner, Cadet Doyen of Earth. For 1 more second, the silence held. Then the arena erupted. Cadets jumped to their feet, shouting. Some cheered. Some stood in shock. The noise was deafening. Texlar remained frozen, his hand slowly moving to his neck where the blade had rested. His eyes met Doyen's. For the first time, they held no arrogance. Only understanding. And perhaps the beginning of respect. Doyen walked out of the arena the same way he had entered, calmly, quietly, his katana wrapped again in its cloth. But everything had changed. The primitive weapon had spoken. The ancient blade had taught its lesson. In 3 moves, the galaxy learned that power without precision is wasted. That technology without technique is hollow. That sometimes the old ways survive because they are simply better. Admiral Zephon stood in his box, a rare smile on his ancient face. In the crowd, Kira applauded slowly, her luminous skin glowing brighter with excitement. Even Breck, who had once laughed at the human sword, stood in silent respect. And in the medical bay, Jiwan watched the replay on her screen, tears of pride running down her face. Her friend had done it. The human had done the impossible. Back on Earth, in a small house where Doyen had grown up, his sister Minji watched the broadcast with her hands over her mouth. When the blade touched Texlar's neck, she screamed with joy. And somewhere, in whatever place old warriors go when they pass, Doyen's grandfather smiled. His blade had honored the family. His student had proven the way. 3 moves. 3 perfect moves. That was all it took to change everything. The footage spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major news network was showing the match. Combat analysts played it frame by frame, breaking down each movement. What had seemed like 3 simple moves revealed itself to be layers of strategy and technique. Military academies across dozens of worlds requested copies of the footage for study. The video became required viewing in tactics classes. Instructors who had spent years teaching advanced combat found themselves questioning their methods. At the Galactic Defense Academy, everything changed overnight. Doyen woke the morning after the match to find cadets waiting outside his door. They wanted to talk to him, to understand, to learn. Please, a small alien with multiple eyes asked, "Can you explain how you knew when to strike?" Doyen, still tired, tried to answer simply. "I watched, I waited. When he committed everything to his attack, he had nothing left for defense." "But how did you move so fast at the end?" another cadet asked. "I didn't move fast," Doyen explained. "I moved at the right time. Timing matters more than speed." The cadets looked at each other, minds working. It was such a simple concept, but it went against everything they had been taught. They had been trained to rely on superior technology, on natural advantages, on overwhelming force. Doyen had used none of these things. He had used patience, observation, and centuries-old technique. Later that day, Breck found Doyen in the cafeteria. The massive, stone-like alien stood awkwardly, shifting his weight. Finally, he spoke, his voice like grinding boulders. "I mocked you," Breck said bluntly. "I was wrong." "I apologize." Doyen looked up surprised. "Thank you. But there's no need to apologize. You didn't know." "I should have known better than to judge without understanding," Breck said. "Would you teach me?" "Not sword fighting. My people are too large for blades. But the philosophy, the way of thinking." "Of course," Doyen said. "The principles work for any fighting style. They work for any challenge." More cadets approached throughout the day. By evening, Doyen had agreed to teach a small group. They met in one of the training rooms. Doyen showed them basic stances, not with a sword, but with empty hands. He explained about center of balance, about reading body language, about patience. Kira was among the students. She picked up the concepts quickly, adapting them to her species' unique abilities. "This is fascinating," she said during a break. "My people use our minds to move objects, but we never thought about timing or reading our opponents. We just push harder when we meet resistance." "Many species do that," Doyen said. "They have natural advantages, so they never learned finesse. But advantages can become weaknesses if you rely on them too much." 3 days after the match, Thexelar appeared at Doyen's training session. The room went quiet. The Vraxian stood in the doorway, his plasma staff absent. He wore simple training clothes. Doyen stood slowly. He wasn't sure what to expect. Anger, another challenge? Thexler walked forward until he stood directly in front of Doyen. Then, to everyone's shock, he bowed. It was a deep bow, a gesture of respect in many cultures. "I came to understand," Thexler said, his voice stripped of arrogance. "I have watched the match recording 20 times. Each time I see more. You controlled the entire fight from the first second. You made me do exactly what you wanted." "You're a skilled fighter," Doyen said honestly. "Your technique is excellent. Your power is impressive. But I relied too much on those things," Thexelar continued. "I thought superior weapons and strength were enough. I forgot that combat is about the mind first, the body second." He paused. "I want to learn from you." "If you'll teach me." Doyen smiled slightly. "I would be honored. But you'll have to start with the basics, like everyone else." "I'm ready," Thexelar said. Over the following weeks, Doyen's teaching group grew. Cadets from 17 different species attended his sessions. The academy administration took notice. Senior instructors began sitting in on the classes, taking notes. Admiral Zephon called Doyen to his office one afternoon. The old Cortesian sat behind his desk, studying the young human with thoughtful eyes. "You've caused quite a disruption, Cadet Doyen," the Admiral said. Doyen tensed. "I'm sorry, Admiral. I didn't mean to cause trouble." "I didn't say it was bad disruption," Zephon smiled. "My species, the Cortesians, once had martial traditions similar to yours. Centuries ago, we practiced forms and techniques passed down through generations. Then we discovered advanced weapons, energy fields, plasma technology. We thought we had evolved beyond the old ways." The Admiral stood and walked to his window, looking out at the stars. "But we lost something important. We became dependent on our technology. Our warriors stopped thinking strategically. They relied on superior equipment to win. When equipment failed or was unavailable, they were helpless. I see that happening across the galaxy, Doyen said quietly. Yes, Zephon turned back. You showed us something we had forgotten. That the fundamentals matter. That discipline and technique are not primitive. They are essential, he paused. I want to offer you a position, combat doctrine consultant. You would work with our instructors to integrate human martial philosophy into our training programs. Doyen's eyes widened. Admiral, I'm still a student myself. I have so much to learn. And you will continue learning, Zephon said. But you have something to teach as well. Something the entire Galactic Coalition needs to understand. That evening, Doyen received messages from across the galaxy. Other academies wanted him to visit. Military organizations wanted consultations. Even civilian schools wanted to learn about human martial arts. Earth's government contacted him directly. Proud and excited about the attention, Commander Hyunwoo sent a personal message. You've done more than win a fight, Doyen. You've changed how the galaxy sees Earth. They're not laughing at us anymore. They're asking to learn from us. Well done, soldier. But the message that meant the most came from Minji. Her face filled the screen, tears running down her cheeks. Brother, everyone here on Earth is talking about you. They're showing your match on every channel. Kids are signing up for martial arts classes in record numbers. They want to be like you, but I just want you to know that I was proud of you before the match. Not because you won, but because you never gave up. Because you honored our family and our grandfather. You showed them who we are. Doyen watched the message 3 times, then sat in silence with his katana in his lap. The blade that had been mocked was now famous. Museums wanted to display it. Historians wanted to study it. Weapons manufacturers wanted to understand its design. But to Doyen, it was still just his grandfather's blade. A tool for learning. A reminder of who he was and where he came from. The academy scheduled a special ceremony for the end of the term. The grand arena was set up with formal decorations. Dignitaries from across the coalition attended. Doyen stood at the center in his formal uniform, feeling uncomfortable with all the attention. Admiral Zephon presented him with the Star of Valor, the coalition's highest civilian honor. For demonstrating excellence in combat and for enriching our understanding of martial philosophy, the Admiral announced. The crowd applauded. Doyen accepted the medal but felt strange about it. He hadn't done anything heroic. He had just used what his grandfather taught him. During his acceptance speech, he kept it simple. I thank the Academy for this honor, but I must share it with my grandfather who taught me, and with all the masters who came before him, who refined these techniques over centuries. I also thank my opponent Thexler, who showed me the strength of modern methods. The future isn't about choosing between old and new. It's about understanding both. After the ceremony, Thexlar approached him. The Vraxian had been practicing hard, studying not just technique but philosophy. I have a gift, he said, holding out a small case. Inside was a maintenance kit for Doyen's katana. Traditional oils and cloths from Earth, shipped across the galaxy. I researched proper sword care, Thexlar explained. A blade this important deserves respect. Doyen felt a tightness in his throat. Thank you, my friend. Friend? Thexlar repeated the word slowly. Yes, I like that. That night, Doyen stood in an empty training room, practicing his forms as he always did. But he wasn't alone. Through the window, he could see cadets in other rooms doing the same. Aliens of all species, practicing movement and meditation. Some with weapons, some without. All searching for the same thing Doyen had found. The understanding that true strength comes from discipline, patience, and respect. His katana moved through the air in ancient patterns. The blade that had traveled across the stars. The blade that had changed minds across a galaxy. The blade that proved some things don't need to be new to be valuable. Tomorrow, Doyen would start his new role as consultant. He would work with instructors to develop new training programs. He would teach cadets from across the galaxy. He would help bridge the gap between tradition and progress. But tonight, he was just a student. A grandson honoring his grandfather. A warrior practicing his art. The blade finished its arc and returned to its sheath with a soft click. Doyen bowed to the empty room, to his invisible teachers, to the long line of masters who had carried this knowledge through the centuries. 3 moves had ended a fight. But they had started something much bigger, a conversation between Civiliza,